There are over 2 billion people in the world who call themselves Christians and believe they will be going to heaven because Jesus died for their sins. Jesus, however, calls the way to eternal life the narrow way and specifies that only a few will find it. For those who might think that Jesus was speaking metaphorically when he used the word few, we would like to draw your attention to a story in the Gospel of Matthew, in which Jesus says that not all those who call him Lord will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only those who do the will of his Father. Jesus then goes on to tell a story of a group of people who've been condemned to hell. Those people try to defend themselves by reminding Jesus that they had once prophesied, cast out demons and performed miracles in his name. Jesus responds to them by saying, "I don't know you. Depart from me, you who engage in sin." Based on these statements of Jesus, it is reasonable to conclude that the majority of people in the world, including most self-described Christians, will be condemned to hell in the end. If you find this reality difficult to accept, ask yourself the following questions. If Jesus can turn away people who could prophesy, could cast out demons, and could perform miracles, is he not more likely to turn an average sinner away? If Jesus is supposed to have died for people's sins, why then does he say, "Depart from me, you who engage in sin"? If over 2 billion people claim to be born again, but Jesus told you that only a few will be admitted to heaven, who would you believe? In light of everything Jesus has said, indicating that the majority of souls who enter the world will end up in eternal torment, it is reasonable to conclude that the act of procreation is either an act of evil or at the very least an act of supreme recklessness. Consider the following analogy. You are at an amusement park standing in line for a certain ride with a group of children whose welfare you are responsible for. When the ride operator informs you that the ride is defective and may result in injury or death. However, you can still take a chance and go on the ride if you wish. In light of that warning, no mentally sound person would allow their children to go on such a ride, yet many of these same people will bring children into a morally corrupt world which, according to Jesus, will offer little likelihood of achieving salvation. Under these circumstances, do we not have a moral obligation to refrain from having children? Do we not also have an obligation to discourage others from doing so? There are some who might ask, what about God's mandate to be fruitful and multiply? That mandate was directed at Adam and Eve at a time when there were no other people on the earth, and then later at Noah when he and his family were the only ones left alive. In the year 2025, in a world with over 8 billion people and social conditions that make it next to impossible to achieve spiritual salvation, it is by far the morally right thing to refrain from bringing children into an evil, corrupt world. After all, the risk of disobeying God's long outdated mandate is far less consequential than the risk of condemning other sentient beings to hell for all eternity. Thank you for watching this video, and because we value your opinion, please leave a comment letting us know what you think about this subject. We would also like to thank the author Gabriel for allowing us to use some of the ideas from the Trump Supporters' Guide to Hell as the basis for this video. Thank you, and have a blessed day.